Gun sales are skyrocketing in election season.
16.7 million to be exact.
Coinciding with the first pandemic lockdowns, the protests following the death of George Floyd, and the aftermath of the presidential election.
For whatever reason, whether it's distrust in government or fear of, autocrats coming to power in the United States, gun sales are up. More people are buying guns. More people of color, more women are buying guns.
See how that fits your hand?
It's probably about 4.
Americans bought nearly 23 million guns in 2020, more than any other previous year on record. And in 2021, sales have remained high.
And, one version of that is, hey, that's great. More people with more guns means everybody is safer.
Whenever a good guy with a gun runs toward the gunfire, the madness stops quickly.
But it doesn't take much for misunderstandings to lead to gunplay followed by injury or death, especially in those kinds of contexts in which you have protesters and counter-protesters, and they're both bringing their guns because they don't trust the other side.
Armed protesters have become a fixture at demonstrations over everything from COVID restrictions to the 2020 presidential election, as well as during protests for racial justice.
In many of those places, there are no requirements for training, for figuring out when to use the weapon, under what circumstances, what kind of activity actually is a sufficient threat to justify deadly force.
During a night of protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, teenager Kyle Rittenhouse shot 3 people, 2 of them fatally. His murder trial gripped the nation.
It's a really difficult issue because typically self-defense is not available to somebody who provokes an encounter. But what counts as a criminal provocation as opposed to some other kind of innocuous provocation is really fuzzy and unclear.
And so we're going to have to figure out as a society what it is we want our citizens to do when they potentially have guns, and whether or not we want them intervening in this way.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
Rittenhouse was acquitted on all counts. The jury found he had acted in self-defense.
Criminal law is not really geared to deal with everybody policing everybody else and deciding after the fact who was the person that provoked the violence, who was the person that legitimately used self-defense, who used self-defense wrongly, etc.
Our self-defense laws, our citizens arrest laws, and our gun possession laws are creating this incredibly difficult situation where we need clearer, cleaner rules about how people should behave.
But in a deeply divided country with more people arming themselves, legal experts are worried.
So obviously, Kyle Rittenhouse has become a kind of cause celeb for the right, and especially for gun rights advocates.
He's not especially political. He never wanted to be the symbol of anything. Kyle Rittenhouse just wanted to keep violent lunatics from setting fire to cars. In the America he grew up in, that was considered virtuous.
Kyle Rittenhouse is not guilty, my friends. You have a right to defend yourselves. Be armed, be dangerous, and be moral.
And to the extent that this simply confirms that if they are in an encounter where they end up using deadly force, that they can be acquitted of a crime for having, engaged in this sort of ancillary law enforcement activity, then this will, I think, give them some comfort. It might actually encourage them.
Whether you're pro owning a gun or against owning a gun, we should all want rules that tell people how they're allowed to behave and that minimize the chance of error. Because the chance of error is a problem no matter who you are.